Do not confuse this with treatment or mental health advice or direction. Nothing on this podcast is made to supplement or supersede the relationship and direction of your mental health caretakers. Although David Kozlowski is a licensed marriage and family therapist, he is not functioning as a certified mental health professional in this environment. And same applies to any professional who may appear on the OG Therapy podcast. Welcome to the OG Therapy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of OG Therapy. And today's episode is specifically for all you parents that are like me, lazy. That's right, I confessed it. Didn't say my wife was lazy, I said I was lazy. And so every summer, I have the same issue with all the parents that I counsel. They get a lot of progress, they get a lot of momentum going through the winter into the spring year to keep their family in order, keep their kids on schedule, bedtimes, curfews. Usually takes people, the second half of the year to really get it dialed in. Well, what typically happens is the end of May, beginning of June, depending on when your school ends, there's a huge change in attitude, mentality, and definitely in schedule. Typically, kids want to sleep in, kids want to stay out later, wake up later, and parents may even, depending on their job, may want to wake up later and not have to deal with having to take their kids to school early in the morning. So it's pretty easy for parents to fall into a bad rut. It's pretty easy for parents to say, hey, let's just take the first week. We all just kind of stay up late, do whatever we want. And then they try to rein it back in with very little success. And the reason why is because when you allow kids and teenagers to do some things that you already said that they weren't allowed to do, and you make an exception to the rule, that can work a couple times. But if it goes on for days, if it goes on for weeks, it's going to be really hard to get any of that momentum back that you had during the spring and to have any sense of order or structure throughout the summertime. But like I admitted, I'm lazy. So during the summertime, I was giving some of my clients some things to do that had a lot of details to them. And so there's a lot of steps that I'd tell the parents to help them keep their momentum throughout the summer. Then I found out that I wasn't really following up with them because it was more steps than I even wanted to do. And so that made me a hypocrite. So in the past few summers, I've worked with some different things and based upon some parents that have found success with some simple steps so that they don't have to change their whole entire summer. They don't have to change their whole entire schedule. But if they did these basic things, it definitely kept the momentum going and it made the disgruntled employees in their family, otherwise known as your kids, a little bit more willing to go along with things even if they didn't want to do it. So here's how this works. So most people have some sort of digital calendar or digital scheduler on their phones. Some families like to put it visual where it's in a public place where everybody can see it. What I want you guys to do is I want you to go out and get a big whiteboard. Now, there are some cool fancy calendar whiteboards you can get out there that cost a lot of money. But if you want to keep it pretty low cost and low budget, get as big as a whiteboard you can fit on a wall in a public space, open area, living room area at your house, your apartment, so that everybody can see it. Put up the whole entire month of June earlier in May. And the reason why I want you to put up the whole entire month of June earlier in May is because if you try to start it in June, the end of school, you might have a vacation booked, you might have kids going in all different directions, and it's going to be a lot harder to follow through with doing that then. But throughout the month of May, if you start getting everybody's summer schedules, talking to your partner, your spouse, and start figuring out exactly what you guys do know you have on the schedule, throughout the whole entire month of May, you can slowly start adding things on that schedule. But off to the side of the schedule, I want you to make a very specific list, and this is going to be called a trade list. So what a trade list is you're going to write a bunch of things down on this list that you would like your kids to do that would help you to help keep your momentum and your schedule going that you had throughout the spring. But this list are going to be things that if your kids want to make any changes to the curfew, make any changes to bedtime, or make any deals with you to hang out with their friends, this and that and the other throughout the summertime, instead of arguing with them or asking them a bunch of questions, because if you're a fan of me and my podcast, you'll know never lead with questions when you're talking to your teenagers. Even if it's a simple question as, how come you did that? You should say, hey, I'd really like to know why you did that. The reason being, it triggers a lot of defensiveness. It triggers arguments, confrontations. You guys go tit for tat, back and forth. Next thing you know, no matter what you tell your kid, they're going to walk away from that situation feeling my parent is mad at me and this is personal. So instead, you make a trade list. On that trade list, you could have things like a specific chore that could be dishes, vacuuming, whatever it is. Something that if they did that, that would soften your heart and you would allow them to have an extension on their curfew or their bedtime. But before I finish talking about that, the other part of the list is you're going to have to establish new curfew and new bedtime for everybody on the family or in the family. Some kids and some parents have said that they didn't agree with this at first, what I'm about to tell you. And what I'm about to say is everybody should have their own deal with the parents. So let's say you're a 10-year-old, there's a 13-year-old. Let's say you have a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. The 10-year-old's going to want the same curfew, the same things that the 15-year-old gets. Obviously, they can't have that, but they are going to constantly ask for, well, how come they have to do that? If you're a typical parent, you're just going to continuously respond, say, well, I told you before, don't you remember? And you're going to overparent. You're going to talk to them until you're blue in the face. They're going to get irritated with you. Well, there's another option. You put a list on there, not just for the trade list, things that they could trade. You also put a list on there, whose bedtime is what time, who has to turn their phone at what time, whose curfew is what time. If any of your kids want, let's say the 15-year-old's curfew is midnight, and let's say, the 13-year-old's is 11. Let's say the 10-year-old doesn't really have a curfew because they can't really go out late at night, but let's just kind of say it's like they got to get to bed by 10, right? Well, when there's curfews during the summertime, you're going to get a lot of pushback because there's going to be plans that change. The 15-year-old's going to be saying, hey, I know my curfew's at midnight, but can I please stay out an hour? Please, please. It's our favorite thing and we're doing this and blah, blah, blah. Or they text you at midnight saying, hey, I can't be home for an hour. In those situations, instead of arguing with your kids, instead of saying, why are you late? Why is this? Why is that? Take a deep breath. And unless there's a very specific thing that they got to get home for early in the morning, unless there's that type of thing, you simply want to say, all right, tell me what you're willing to trade for it. Pick something on that list. If they go, oh, well, I don't know. I can't remember what's on the list. Just take a screenshot of the list, text it to them. Say, I will allow you to stay out this hour late. I'll allow you to go to bed late. If they're watching a movie and you're like, okay, time to go to bed. If the bedtime is midnight and it's 12:15 and they're like, oh, it's already past 12, it's already past midnight. Come on, let us stay up a little bit later. Just say, okay, how much later do you want to stay up? Well, let us stay up till 1. Okay, well then you're going to babysit to me for 45 minutes tomorrow so I can go run some errands. Wait, what? Well, you want to stay up 45 minutes later, so I'm giving you something. You got to give me something. The art of negotiation, the art of compromise, and the art of just being able to work out differences and being able to talk to people requires you got to know what that person wants. And in this case, your kid or your teenager is going to tell you, but they're not really thinking about what you want because they're not in that stage of life right now. Their brain hasn't developed to be thinking about what their parent wants all the time. So guess how they're going to learn that? You're going to present that to them. And they're going to say, well, why'd I have to give you something just for me to stay out a little bit later? And then you could respond, well, why have to give you something just because you asked for it? We could go on and on about this. This is a deal. It's a fair deal. Take it or leave it. If they say, no, I don't want to take it, I'm just stay out anyway, say, that's fine. Well, there's a third list. The third list is if you go over the curfew, you go over the bedtime, you go over whatever it is that you want to keep in place. That's why this list is very simple. We're not getting into every single chore throughout the summer. We're not getting into the details. Basic things, curfew, bedtime, stuff like that. If they want to be able to just say, no, I'm just going to be a regular American. I'm going to do what I want, and you can't force me to do it. It's okay. Well, then there's a consequence list for not doing the trade. So the key to this is you want to offer two options always. One option is go rogue and get punished and get in trouble, which is twice as many chores, twice as many things they have to do if they don't follow through with their end of the bargain. Or they can negotiate and trade with you, which is half the amount. So on a trade list, it's like, okay, do the dishes. Great. On the consequences, do the dishes for the week, or at least 2 or 3 days. So you give them two options, but one option is completely the obvious option that they're going to want to take. When they go back and forth and say, well, this isn't fair because of course I'm going to take this one. It's not a good deal. I don't know why it has to be like that. Do yourself, do your kid And even do me a favor so you don't have to end up in my office asking, to be a client of mine as a therapist. Just don't say anything. Just sit there. Nod your head. Look down the ground like you're paying attention. You're pondering. Give that facial expression like you're pondering what they're saying. Interesting. Yeah, okay. And the reason why you want to do that, like I've said many times in this podcast, if you try to make sense of your kid's nonsense, you're going to have a face that's going to look very upset, very angry, and very agitated. If you take offense to what your kids are saying, like they'd even ask you to extend their curfew after all the things you've given to them that they haven't given to you, well, then you're going to get offended. You're going to get pissed off. You're going to have a very similar face. But if you sit there and look like you're pondering, contemplating what they're saying, and when they get done saying, say, okay, man, I guess it sounds like you're right. I guess you don't really have an option because you're not dumb and you're going to take the best part of the deal you can get. Cool, great. Thanks for agreeing to that. I expect you to have the dishes done by tomorrow night. Well, wait, I didn't say I was going to do that. Well, you just said you didn't really have an option, so I assumed you're just going to take that one. Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's not fair. I know, honey. I know, sweetheart. I know it seems like it's not fair. But what seems like it's not fair to me is if I give you something and I get nothing back in return. See, when you're a kid, I'd give you a pair of shoes. You didn't have to buy me a pair of shoes. But as you're an adult, if I buy you a birthday present, you better dang well buy your parent a birthday present too. If I get you a Christmas present, you better get me a Christmas present too. You see how this works? You get older, you want freedom, you got to earn it, you got to deserve it. Teenagers, kids, they have to learn the simple, basic, universal rule. If you do things that people respect, they're going to respect you. If you continue to do that, they're going to trust you. If you continue to do it still, the trust grows, and eventually they give you this amazing, beautiful thing more often than not. It starts with an F and ends with a freedom. That's right, freedom. We all want the freedom to say and do what we please. Well, in order to gain that, got to get the respect, the trust, and then the freedom. So parents, if you want to try to relay that to your kids, please do. I tell kids all the time in my office, say, hey, you can have your parents give you something, but if they give it to you, they can't give you their respect. They can't admire you. They can't be proud of you. But if you're deserving of it and you earn it, well, then now you have a seat at the big kids table. Now you have more negotiating power to go talk to your parents about things that you want. Teaching your kids this during the summer is a great social health tool. So please, you guys, take my advice on this one. Give it a shot. If you're a parent like me that doesn't like to have too much structure because it always goes to hell in a handbasket because you just can't keep it up because you don't follow through with things, then do something simple like this. Then if you're doing this, if you make a mistake and you forget to do it a couple days, go back to things, say, hey, I'm not going to make you guys go back and do consequences for showing up late this past week, but moving forward this week, we're going to get back on schedule and you're going to have to decide what something you're going to trade with me for or decide on your consequence. Well, you guys, hopefully you like that episode, and please use this, you guys. This has been tried and true for at least a couple years now. Like I said, I fumbled and bumbled and tried to give too many people different suggestions on how to handle the scheduling this summer, and I just found out sometimes less is best, but it's got to be a tight structure with a little bit of flexibility. So until next time, guys, please follow us on all of our social media handles. All of our social media handles are under OG Therapy. And also, please follow SHY, which is the social health initiative that we're sponsored by. It's a nonprofit that I founded and that I run right now. And we're just trying to share with the world how important relationships are. Relationship health, aka social health, is just important, and maybe even the bonding health between your physical and your mental health, because let's face it, you're more likely to have better physical health, better mental health if you have better friends. Until next time, be cool.